Hello everybody, my name is Average Election Enjoyer. Today on November 18th of 2025, and I just want to make a video covering some breaking news out of Texas. As you can see from this headline from the Texas Tribune, federal court blocks Texas from using new congressional gerrymander in 2026 midterms. Now, I made a video quite a long time ago breaking down the sort of start of this redistricting war. If you can remember, Trump said that he needed more seats in the House of Representatives to be able to sort of keep power. A lot of people were anticipating somewhat of a blue shift, if not a blue wave, in 2026. So Republicans were trying to sort of get on top of that by gaining some seats out in Texas and a couple other Republican states that we'll go into later. Their justification being that Republicans are underrepresented in these sort of elections. That is a fact that is very questionable. A lot of very reputable sources have some good articles on that if you want to read more into those sort of things, but I try to stay out of that sort of just politic debating in these videos. These are supposed to be just non-subjective sort of fact. I mean, I guess you could say there's somewhat subjective, to be able to sort of break down these, but these are supposed to be from an independent perspective, of course. So as you can see here in this article talking about how the federal court has blocked Texas from using its gerrymandered map. The map replaced 5 Democrats with Republicans, ousting Jasmine Crockett in Dallas, going after a couple of the Democrats in southern Texas, and just a couple more, going after a couple more Democrats just across the state, attempting to make it far more partisan than it once was. However, this was somewhat of not as bad as a disaster as Republicans might have expected. The reason why Republicans actually drew their districts based on the 2024 numbers, showing Hispanics at about 55-45 rate, and that has come back to bite them in the ass. Not only because of what would have happened in 2026 is if Hispanics, just like we saw in 2025, if they shift back towards the Democrats in any meaningful way, the results would have not occurred in how Republicans were hoping. It also has caused the reason behind this case, which is that the federal court blocked it via saying their reason for blocking it is that it was a gerrymander that suppressed the Hispanic vote in Texas. And this is not too much of a surprise, as you can see, especially in southern Texas, some of their districts definitely you could see them trying to sort of but the way that they chose to draw their districts definitely hurt the representation of some of the Hispanics down in southern Texas, especially, but across the state as a whole. And the judge has ruled in that sort of favor. So this will end up going to the Supreme Court. The ball will be in their hands, I guess you could say, as to whether they're going to allow this to continue. They're going to make, there's a possibility they might make changes to the VRA, which would be very interesting, very scary, very exciting, depending on however you perceive that. All I know is that it will be very, very impactful for the future of not only this redistricting, but it could potentially impact future elections for a very long time. Supreme Court could also, of course, refuse to hear the case and just stay the results. So a lot of things could happen from this. All you need to know, this is a bad result for the Republicans in a redistricting war that they most definitely did start by all means. They are now behind, actually, in seats that they will be gaining from the total gerrymandering. As you can see from this article from ABC, this is talking about some of the new maps. As you can see, talked about Texas, but new maps coming from Missouri, North Carolina, and Ohio. Missouri drawing out 1 Democrat, North Carolina, I believe 2, And Ohio, they made a deal to draw out some Republicans. I'm going to bring that up right now. As you can see here in this article, Ohio Capitol Journal, Republicans will now hold an advantage in 12 out of the 15 districts in the state. Democrats once hold 5 seats, but are now likely to hold 3 after the 2026 elections. Both of the seats, though, were captured narrowly by Democrats in 2024, so this was going to be competitive, but Republicans just shored up their districts there. Made those 2 seats less competitive in an attempt to draw out those 2 Democrats. And that was a deal that they made with the Democrats, who Republicans were threatening to make a 13-2 map. However, Democrats managed to save an extra seat in some sort of deals there. And so this was the first sort of, not disaster per se, but this was the first sort of incident. Actually, not the first. This was the second incident that sort of shifted this redistricting war into the Democrats' favor. The first was back in November, earlier on. Utah so Utah back in 20. Let me bring up this real quick. All right, there we go. In 2018, Utah voters passed Proposition 4, which established an independent redistricting commission, similar to what we had here in California. And in 2018, they drew a district in Salt Lake City that actually had a Democrat winning by only a couple of points, or not even a point. It was an extremely close race. But we had a Democrat out of Utah. And by 2020, Republicans in the state legislature would actually pass some laws that would make this independent redistricting committee merely advisory, and they would redraw the map, and they would crack Salt Lake City by 3 into 3 separate districts. However, coming up here in the 2025, a Utah judge, so this was actually, this will come later, I'll get into this headline later, but just for a little more context, a judge heard the case and decided that because the voters voted for the independent commission, the new map will not stand, and put forth 3 separate maps that the Republican commission could vote on. 2, I believe, one of which had the 2 main ones. There were 3 maps, but the 2 main ones, one of which cracked Salt Lake City into 2 and made 2 Republican-leaning districts by a little bit more and a little bit less than 10 points that Democrats could, in theory, win in a wave year. Or it would create 1 solid blue Salt Lake City district. And the Republicans, in fact, would choose to crack Salt Lake City into 2 and create 2 more Republican-leaning districts. So Salt Lake City was cracked 3 separate districts. Then it was brought down to 2 with the map that the Republicans chose. However, this is the update. This is what I was talking about. The actual court case happened back like at least a month ago. It was it's been around for a while. That's why I said this was the first sort of turning of the tides in this sort of redistricting battle. But most recently, the Utah judge struck down the GOP map that they chose, the 2 separate, the one that cracked Salt Lake City into 2 instead of 3. And instead, they put forth a new map. This new map would actually have a Democrat. So there is going to be almost guaranteed a Democrat in Utah. It is a nearly safe Salt Lake City seat. So that is a seat for the Democratic Party, a seat minus for the Republican Party. So at this point, it was, and of course, the next thing that sort of happened was the Ohio redistricting that I was just talking about. Republicans tried to gain 3 seats there, but only gained 2 due to deals. The next sort of occurrence that happened was very recent with Prop 50. These are the final results. As you can see, all of these counties are 100%, and all precincts have reported, and it ended 7.4 million to 4 million, 64.4 to 35.6. I analyzed the results from this sort of race that I was talking about, some sort of very important things that you saw. Just to highlight a couple, you saw almost 15% of Republicans actually vote yes on this proposition, which is a large amount. It's just versus Democrats. It was very surprising in how they managed to coalesce all their voters behind the yes opinion. You saw Democrats only voting for no for about 2 or 3%. So this was a major victory for the Democrats, not just in passing. So this Prop 50 actually is meant to counteract Texas, which is now kind of ironic as the Texas map is now gone up in smoke in the courts, and we will see if Republicans are going to be able to put out the fire, see if the Supreme Court are going to be able to rescue it for them. However, this was actually meant to counteract Texas. It drew out 5 Republicans across the strait, sort of as a eye for an eye situation here. And so just to move back to the total sort of summary of how this is going, we had 5. Initially, the Republicans were looking to gain a good amount of seats. Texas 5 seats, Missouri being 1 seat, North Carolina being 1 seat, and Ohio being 2 seats. That would total up to 9 Republican seats gained. This was meant to include, now this is the next step or the next sort of occurrence in this sort of redistricting war that has been going on. You saw Republican attempts to gain more seats in Kansas go up in smoke, in New Hampshire go up in smoke, and also in Indiana. So in all 3 of those states, you saw the Republican attempts to pass it through legislature. A lot of things going on, either opposition from the Republican governor to the leader of the state houses coming out, the state congresses coming out and saying that they don't have the votes to be able to pass these maps. But now, Texas has lost Texas for now has lost the 5 seats that it was supposed to gain, leaving them with 1, and 2, leaving them with only 4 seats gained. However, if you remember with Prop 50, Democrats gained 5 seats from this, so they actually are up 1. And if you add in the Utah gerrymandering victory, it's actually Democrats are up now by 2 seats total, and what was started by the Republicans has now sort of come back to bite them in the butt in this sort of situation. And now, of course, there are also lawsuits ongoing here. The Department of Justice is pursuing striking down Prop 50. However, pretty much every legal expert who has looked at this case has said that the Department of Justice has practically 0 chance, this being because the voters actually voted on Prop 50, and thus it was by the citizens. So this is very unlikely to get struck down. This is not the map, of course. This is just the counties, but the 5 seats that Democrats gain are very unlikely to get struck down in the court. And finally, to end the video, I'm just going to talk about some potential gerrymanders from the Democrats that were now with the Texas revolution, Texas getting struck down. We might not see these sort of redistricting plans. Most of the Democrat redistricting plans, like California, were just retaliatory in nature. That's what they were designed for. Prop 50, as an example, it brings back the Independent Commission in 2030. So as Governor Newsom was saying, or said Gavin Newsom, I meant Governor Gavin Newsom that was one of his big talking points, is how it brings back the Independent Commission in 2030, and that it was a voter-led initiative, and it was purely retaliatory. 5 seats for 5 seats, an eye for an eye. However, Democrats also are currently discussing their own gerrymandering plan, so we'll have to see after this really breaking news this morning. Not a lot of people saw this coming, myself included. Did not expect to be making this video right now. Some future places for Democrats to actually gain seats. So here in 2025, this is the Wikipedia article for the 2025 Virginia House of Delegates, where you can see Democrats in a blue wave gain 13 seats from the Republicans. And this gives them nearly a supermajority. And with a now Democratic governor, a trifecta actually, a governor, lieutenant governor, and the attorney, they actually got a trifecta in the government, and they gained the House. So they are going to have a very easy time at redistricting if they choose to pursue it. So Virginia might be another area where we see something similar to Prop 50 in the future. Maryland has also discussed redistricting. New York, Illinois. There's been several other Democratic states that have been discussing their own redistricting plans. However, we just have to sort of see in the future if because the Democrats were mainly retaliatory in nature, like Prop 50, Maryland was supposed to counteract. It was supposed to counteract Missouri, so that it was supposed to. These redistricting plans were supposed to be sort of retaliatory in nature. So we will have to see if that is going to continue to be the case, or if Democrats are sort of going to leap on this opportunity and gain as many seats as possible for the upcoming 2026 midterm elections here. So that is sort of how this has gone today. This is a major breaking news for this sort of case that blocked the Texas gerrymander redistricting, however you want to say it, for the 2026 midterms. It has been a major shakeup. It actually puts the Democrats in front for total seats gained from this sort of back and forth we got from both parties, and attempt to get a leg up on each other, which not a lot of people saw coming, of course. I don't even think Democrats expected themselves to be in this sort of situation. I'm sure there's a lot of very ecstatic Democrats in D.C. right now, and a lot of ecstatic Democrats across the nation at this unexpected result that could prove to be decisive in 2026. So this is another disaster for the Republicans, who have just been sort of getting piled on here. I made another video talking about how Trump was dragging down the Republican Party, and 2 days later, this sort of Epstein fiasco, if you've been keeping up with the news, has sort of gone. The House and the Senate has passed, and Trump said he's going to sign it. That's going to release the Epstein files. Near unanimous, only one person in the House voting against it. So this has been sort of a terrible week for the Republican Party as a whole, and this is just adding on, kicking them while they're down, I guess, is a way you can think about this. So yeah, just ending off a disastrous week for the Republicans here. A little bit less than a year out from the 2026 midterms. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.